They were once kings and queens of the entertainment world, names that made the world stand and applaud. Money poured in like a flood. They lived in million-dollar mansions, drove supercars, bought things without glancing at the price tag. But then, it all vanished. The glamour crumbled, fortunes slipped away, and death came in cold, lonely silence, accompanied by debt. Some died with stacks of unpaid bills. Others took their last breath as police arrived to seize their assets. From music legends to actors to sports superstars, no one could have predicted their lives would end in such destitute tragedy. The 21 stories I'm about to share will reveal a harsh truth few dared to face. The lives of famous black celebrities were never easy, and their vast fortunes could vanish in an instant. 21st, Sammy Davis Jr. The stage king who died penniless, buried in debt. Sammy Davis Jr. was a name that commanded awe across America. A black artist who shattered barriers to reach the pinnacle of fame. He wasn't just a renowned singer, but a masterful actor, dancer, and key member of the legendary Rat Pack. Sammy ruled Las Vegas, starred in blockbusters like Ocean's 11, and graced hit TV shows. His peak career brought in tens of millions, hundreds of millions in today's dollars, along with a lavish Beverly Hills mansion, a collection of Rolls-Royces, Porsches, and glittering diamonds. He was the living symbol of Hollywood's ultimate extravagance. No one could have imagined such an icon would leave in ruin. On May 16, 1990, Sammy took his final breath after a long battle with throat cancer. But the greatest pain wasn't the illness, it was dying broke. The massive fortune he once held evaporated, leaving behind a mountain of debt crushing his family. Sammy owed the IRS $7 million for years of unpaid taxes. Beyond that, he borrowed $500,000 from major Las Vegas casinos, places where he was once a VIP, spending without a second thought. His entire life, Sammy spent like water, endless parties, lavish gifts for friends, living so extravagantly he didn't care about tomorrow. He kept up the glamorous image even when gravely ill, spending as if he'd live 100 more years. When he died, his Beverly Hills mansion was foreclosed. His supercar fleet was gone. His family couldn't afford a proper funeral. They had to dig through his remaining jewelry, once lavish gifts, to sell for burial costs. A choked-up, bitter end. He was the brightest star in America's artistic sky, yet left as a pauper. From fame's peak to debt's abyss, Sammy Davis Jr.'s life is a brutal warning. It shows that no matter how dazzling the spotlight, it can't shield you from the fallout of reckless spending and no plan for the future. 20. Redd Foxx. America's comedy king died in ruin, drowning in debt. Redd Foxx was a living legend in American comedy. He shot to fame with his iconic role in Sanford and Son and sold-out stand-up shows. At his peak, he raked in tens of millions, owned a 3-story LA mansion, 2 sleek Rolls-Royces, and million-dollar stakes in a Las Vegas comedy club. Redd Foxx's name was a golden ticket for any show he touched. But behind the laughter and glamour was an ending so bitter, it's hard to believe. On October 11, 1991, Redd Foxx collapsed from a heart attack while filming. The tragedy wasn't just his death, it was the state he left behind. No assets, not a dime to his name. His whole life, Redd lived like money was infinite. He splurged on designer clothes, luxury cars, and all-night parties with wealthy artists. He spent like a king, ignoring taxes and ballooning bank loans. When the IRS stepped in, he owed $4.9 million in taxes, plus $300,000 in bank debt. His house was seized, cars repossessed. All his wealth was now a distant memory. From a lavish mansion, Redd moved to a tiny rented apartment, barely a few hundred square feet. No staff, no luxury cars, nothing left. Once a star on every headline, he died in poverty and under crushing debt. His family couldn't afford a grand funeral. Red Fox was dragged to the abyss by his own lavish lifestyle. If anyone thought fame was an invincible shield, Red's end is a heartbreaking proof that no spotlight saves a life lived without a thought for tomorrow. 19. Billie Holiday. Jazz legend died destitute, surrounded by debt. Billie Holiday's voice silenced the world to listen. One of America's greatest jazz icons, she sold out Carnegie Hall, performed across Europe, and earned $500,000, millions in today's terms. She lived in vibrant Manhattan, wore dazzling stage gowns, and owned jewelry that sparked envy. But when she passed, her reality was the complete opposite. On July 17, 1959, Billie Holiday took her last breath in a New York hospital. Her room had no family by her side, just a cold space with silver handcuffs and the slowing beep of a monitor. More heartbreaking, when nurses checked her belongings, her bank account held just 70 cents, and tucked in a hidden paper packet was $750 in cash. Her final sum, not even enough for hospital bills. She died nearly penniless. No house, no car, no inheritance. Everything she had, Manhattan apartment, glittering gowns, lavish jewelry, gone years before. Billie's money vanished into drugs, alcohol, and greedy managers who siphoned her earnings for years. By the time she realized, it was too late. She borrowed from friends, performed while frail just to buy heroin. Her personal debts reached $50,000, a massive sum then. Arrested on her deathbed for drug possession, she was watched in her final days, stripped of freedom and dignity. Her death wasn't just the end of a great voice, but a warning bell about the cost of fame, isolation, and a silent, deadly addiction. 18. Marvin Gaye. Motown legend died tragically with nothing left. Marvin Gaye was an immortal pillar of American music. The soul of Motown, he gave us timeless hits like What's Going On and Let's Get It On. At his peak, Marvin earned over $20 million, owned a luxe LA home, a new Mercedes-Benz, and a $500,000 recording studio. He was the epitome of class and success. No one could imagine his life would end in unthinkable tragedy. Shot dead by his own father on April 1, 1984, during a heated argument. But if you think Marvin died at his peak, you're wrong. Before his death, he was nearly broke. No luxury cars, no mansion, no bank account. All he left was a towering pile of debt. Marvin burned millions on drugs, parties, and endless romantic escapades. His divorce from Anna Gordy, sister of Motown's founder, cost him $600,000. But that was just the start. The IRS chased him for $1 million in unpaid taxes, plus $200,000 in personal debts. In the end, Marvin fled to Belgium, living in a small rented apartment, isolated and quiet. He was once the king of the stage, but in his later years, he lived like a fugitive. Sleepless nights from debt, addiction, and past hauntings. He returned to the U.S. with nowhere else to go, carrying crushing debt, a fractured mind, and a life torn by the lifestyle that made him famous. Marvin Gaye's death wasn't just a shocking murder, it was the end of an unstoppable freefall. When he fell, he had nothing but a massive debt left for his family. 17. Joe Louis, legendary boxing champ, died in poverty, leaving a massive debt. Joe Louis was America's pride. The undefeated heavyweight boxing champion for over a decade, his epic fights shook the world. At his peak, Joe earned nearly $5 million, a staggering $60 million today. He owned a lavish Chicago mansion, a fleet of Cadillacs, and stakes in a renowned boxing gym. But the name that awed the world fell into an unimaginable tragedy. On April 12, 1981, Joe Louis passed from a stroke after years of scraping by and destitution. A boxing legend, once ruler of the ring, ended his life in a tiny rundown apartment, surviving on friends' kindness and the pity of former fans. He had it all, then spent like money never runs out. He showered friends with cash, threw unchecked parties, splurged on lavish dinners, and backed flashy but failed business ventures. Worse, he ignored taxes. When the IRS came, he owed $1.2 million. He borrowed another $250,000 from boxing sponsors to stay afloat. No miracle came. The IRS seized his mansion, cars, personal assets. Nothing left. For a time, Joe worked as a casino greeter in Las Vegas just to survive. His final apartment was paid for by a friend. Even medical costs were covered by others. He died quietly, his heart too tired to fight. A boxing legend fell, not in the ring, but under a crushing pile of debt. 16. Isaac Hayes. From music's peak to a debt-ridden abyss, losing everything and leaving a burden, Isaac Hayes was a soul music titan. The genius behind Motown hits, his theme from Shaft, shocked the world, earning an Oscar and Grammy. At his peak, Isaac owned a luxurious Memphis mansion, a new Porsche 911, and a recording studio worth hundreds of thousands. He was the model of success, style, and influence. But fate dealt him a cruel end. On August 10, 2008, he was found unconscious at home. No one expected it was his final moment. A stroke ended all hope of recovery. More heartbreaking was the reality. Isaac died drowning in debt, with nearly no assets, leaving his family crushed under a massive financial burden. It began crumbling in 1976. Isaac sank millions into a new record label. The ambitious project flopped spectacularly. Bank loans, studio costs, and a lavish lifestyle dragged him into a crisis spiral. He filed for bankruptcy, losing nearly everything he'd earned. Though he kept performing, it only kept him afloat, not enough to clear old debts. In his final days, soaring medical costs forced him to borrow $400,000 more for treatment. The worst was a $1.5 million IRS debt hanging like a death sentence. After his death, his home, Porsche, and remaining assets were auctioned to pay debts. His family was left with pain, financial strain, and a once glorious name. 15th, Nat King Cole. Jazz icon died after selling off everything. Nat King Cole is unforgettable in American music history. His golden jazz and ballad voice gave us timeless hits like Unforgettable, Mona Lisa, and Smile. Not just a singer, he was the first black man to host a TV show, The Nat King Cole Show, a trailblazer breaking racial barriers in entertainment. At his peak, Nat earned millions, lived in a luxurious LA mansion, rode in a Lincoln limousine, and played a piano worth hundreds of thousands. On February 15, 1965, Nat King Cole died of lung cancer. The shock wasn't just losing a music legend, but the brutal truth. He left drowning in debt, with little for his family beyond a small savings of a few $1,000s and a tarnished reputation from financial scandals. The millions earned over 2 decades vanished unbelievably. Nat overspent on family, house, cars, kids' tuition, elite parties, unchecked charity donations. Worst, his manager embezzled his money for years, unnoticed. By the time it was caught, the IRS slapped a $500,000 tax bill, plus $150,000 borrowed from music producers for late career projects. With no way out, his family sold the mansion, cars, and his prized piano collection to settle debts. When he took his last breath, almost nothing of value remained. A star who reached glory's peak died buried in debt. 14. Sugar Ray Robinson, legendary boxer, watched his fortune walk away before dying. Sugar Ray Robinson was hailed as boxing's greatest. With a nearly 3-decade career, he boasted over 170 wins, 108 knockouts. At his peak, he wasn't just a ring star, but a fashion icon, successful businessman, and New York elite. He earned over $4 million, $50 million today, living in a Harlem mansion, driving new Cadillacs, owning Manhattan's swankiest nightclub. Yet in his final days, the man who threw million-dollar punches died in unimaginable poverty. On April 12, 1989, Sugar Ray passed after battling Alzheimer's and diabetes complications. His massive fortune had long vanished, forcing his family to scramble for funeral funds. While alive, Sugar Ray spent freely on lavish parties, custom clothes, gifts for friends, and his nightclub, which bled hundreds of thousands monthly. It didn't profit, and taxes piled up. The IRS demanded $700,000 in unpaid taxes. Personal creditors, once close, hounded him for $200,000 he'd borrowed to stay afloat. His Harlem mansion was sold off. Cadillacs gone, the nightclub reduced to rubble by new owners. In his final days, he lived on welfare in a small LA apartment. No spotlight, no cheers. Unbelievably, Sugar Ray Robinson, the boxer who stopped the world, left the ring of life in destitution with debts his family may never clear. 13th, Etta James, R&B queen, died in illness, and debt's grip. Etta James was a radiant icon of American R&B and blues. Her powerhouse voice left marks with hits like At Last, propelling her to global stages and countless awards. She earned tens of millions, owned a riverside home, a sleek Mercedes-Benz, and a performance wardrobe worth hundreds of thousands. But behind the stage lights, Etta's life was a prolonged tragedy until her last breath. On January 20, 2012, she passed after battling leukemia and pneumonia. What stunned people more was her dire financial state. With a fortune once in hand, Etta drove herself into a financial pit with an unchecked lifestyle. In the 1970s, she burned piles of cash on drugs, a slide that started her downfall. Her career suffered, gigs dwindled, record deals collapsed. Though she tried to recover, the damage was too great. In her final days, illness tormented her. Chemo, surgeries, hospital bills piled up. She owed hospitals over $300,000 and borrowed $100,000 from music producers for treatment. Her account was nearly empty. The riverside home was mortgaged. The Mercedes gone. At her death, her family sold rights to her iconic songs, the last valuables, to pay debts. A music monument who lived like a queen, left like a beggar, with only regret and a bitter lesson behind the glamour. 12th, O.J. Simpson, million-dollar superstar, died in ruin. O.J. Simpson was a blazing star in American football. A sports icon, he shone in the Naked Gun comedies and as a sought-after TV host. At his peak, O.J. pocketed over $25 million, lived in a lavish Brentwood mansion, drove a Ferrari, and wore a $500,000 Rolex, a symbol of glamour and power. But his life took an unthinkable turn. In 1997, after a sensational civil trial over the deaths of his ex-wife Nicole Brown and her friend, O.J. was ordered to pay $33.5 million to the victims' families. From there, everything crashed. He declared bankruptcy. Assets were frozen, seized. Mansion gone. Ferrari gone. Rolex gone. You'd think that financial blow was rock bottom, but no. O.J. owed the IRS $1 million in taxes. Personal loans from friends, investors, and business contacts, about $400,000, went unpaid. Ad deals and film contracts vanished post-scandal. He was shunned by media, untouchable. In his final years, O.J. lived quietly in a rented Las Vegas home. No luxury, no fans, just illness eroding his health. On April 10, 2024, O.J. Simpson died of prostate cancer. As he closed his eyes, his accounts were empty, assets sold off, still not enough to cover millions in debt. A man who had it all, money, fame, power, died penniless, forgotten by society, blocked by the law, crushed by debt. O.J. Simpson's death closed a tragic chapter of an empire that once ruled American media. 11. Florence Ballard, supreme star, died choked in poverty. Florence Ballard was an essential part of the legendary Supremes. Her powerful voice fueled chart-topping hits like Baby Love, elevating Motown to its peak. At her height, she earned hundreds of thousands, millions today, owned a Detroit home, drove a Corvette, and had a wardrobe worth a fortune. But within years, it all turned to dust. In 1967, Florence was ousted from the Supremes. From center stage, she plummeted. Her career froze. Income stopped. Her name faded from headlines. She sank into deep depression. Alcohol became her only friend. Solo contracts fizzled. No one cared. The crowds that once surrounded her in glory turned away. With no income, Florence borrowed from friends and industry contacts $80,000 total to survive, pay bills, buy medicine, and raise 3 kids. She spent $20,000 on legal fees fighting Motown for her rights and reputation. She lost. Everything collapsed. In her final years, she lived on welfare in a small, dilapidated Detroit house with nothing left to pawn. On February 22, 1976, she died of heart failure from a blood clot and alcohol abuse. No gigs, no fame, no assets, no insurance, just mounting pain and unpaid debt. A star who climbed music's highest peak left unknown, destitute, and alone. 10. Lena Horne, Hollywood queen, died silently, drowning in debt. Lena Horne was a radiant Hollywood star with beauty, talent, and charisma. She captivated stages and screens with her iconic, stormy weather voice, a civil rights symbol and one of the first black women to break cinema's barriers. At her peak, she earned millions, lived in a Manhattan penthouse, drove a sleek Jaguar, and owned an art collection that wowed connoisseurs. But the glamour on stage couldn't save her from a long slide behind the lights. From the late 1960s, Lena's civil rights activism, funding campaigns and speaking out, landed her on Hollywood's blacklist. Opportunities dried up, income crashed. The cost of her bold voice was ruthless exclusion. She kept her iconic image, but it was a shell. By the 1990s, Lena faced a massive tax debt, over $200,000. With no major contracts, no stage invitations, she borrowed $100,000 from close friends to survive in America's priciest city. Her penthouse was mortgaged. Her prized art collection, once her pride, sold off to cover costs. She lived in quiet despair. On May 9, 2010, Lena Horne died of heart failure. No money, no fame, just debts weighing on her family. Her death exposed a cruel truth. Even a woman who made Hollywood beau couldn't escape the brutal spiral of money, debt, and oblivion. 9. Eartha Kitt. Santa Baby Queen died on Christmas, her home mortgaged, jewelry gone. Eartha Kitt was a name that made Hollywood bow. Her golden voice in Santa Baby, fiery Broadway roles, and sensual yet powerful aura were unmatched. She held a massive fortune, lived in a chic New York apartment, drove a Bentley, and owned a jewelry collection worth hundreds of thousands. But one day, Eartha's finances plummeted. From the late 1960s, after opposing the war, Hollywood blacklisted her mercilessly. No film roles, sparse gigs, income crashed. She kept living large, funding activism, but no money came in. She owed $250,000 in taxes and borrowed $150,000 from industry friends to maintain her glamorous life. In her final days, she battled colon cancer quietly. Her apartment was mortgaged, jewelry sold for hospital bills. Her last moments were spent in pain and unpaid bills. On December 25, 2008, Christmas tied to her iconic song, Eartha Kitt took her final breath in solitude, poverty, and unclaimed debts. 8. Donny Hathaway. Soul genius leapt to his death in debt and despair. Donny Hathaway was hailed as soul music's soul. His emotive voice in A Song for You and deep hits captivated the world. At his peak, he earned about $2 million, owned a Chicago apartment, drove a Cadillac Eldorado, and had a $100,000 instrument collection. But behind the spotlight was a dark, chaotic spiral. Donny battled schizophrenia. He spent heavily on treatments, doctors, meds, even drugs to spark creativity. Every dollar earned went to medical costs, managers, studios, and desperate loans to maintain an unbroken artist image. By the late 1970s, it spun out of control. He owed music producers $100,000 and borrowed $50,000 from friends and colleagues, but his career stalled. No one would work with him. Unstable mind, empty pockets, no hope. On January 13, 1979, Donnie fell from the 15th floor of New York's Essex house. He left with nothing, assets sold to pay debts, his family with mere cash, and an unfillable void. 7. Jackie Wilson, R&B king, lived gloriously, died penniless with crushing debt. Jackie Wilson was an irreplaceable R&B icon, his explosive voice and style igniting stages with Lonely Teardrops. He earned about $5 million, lived in a Detroit mansion, drove a Lincoln Continental, and invested in a record company. But the stage lights dimmed faster than imagined. Behind the dazzle, Jackie spent recklessly. Designer clothes, lavish parties, treating friends everywhere. A.T. regal life, unchecked. His fortune vanished unnoticed. In 1975, during a performance, he suffered a heart attack, falling into a deep coma, never waking. 9 long years immobile, no income, with hospital bills soaring to $200,000, plus $150,000 in tax debt. His house was foreclosed, stakes sold off. His family had nothing. On January 21, 1984, Jackie Wilson took his last breath in a vegetative state, drowning in debt. Mr. Excitement left tragically. Even his funeral relied on loyal fans' donations, those who still remembered while the world nearly forgot. 6. Muhammad Ali, boxing legend, left a shattered legacy. After death, Muhammad Ali was a global icon. The world's top boxer, he shook rings with Thrilla in Manila. At his peak, he earned over $80 million, lived in a grand Chicago mansion, drove Rolls-Royces, and owned a $1 million Michigan farm. But financial missteps crushed his glamorous world. Ali spent freely, charity everywhere, helping all, funding movements without checking his balance. Managers embezzled millions, and money vanished. In his final days, he faced a $1 million tax debt and $500,000 in personal loans from sponsors. His mansion was sold, the farm mortgaged, cars, art, everything that defined a legend. Now, memories. On June 3, 2016, Muhammad Ali died after years battling Parkinson's. More painful, his family inherited massive unpaid debts, scraping by on his fading legacy's name. 5. Jimi Hendrix. Guitar legend died of overdose, family drowned in debt. Jimi Hendrix was an irreplaceable rock icon. His magical hands and rebellious style rocked the world with Are You Experienced?, conquering stages from America to Europe. At his peak, he pocketed over $10 million, lived in a luxe London apartment, drove a Corvette Stingray, and owned a guitar collection worth hundreds of thousands. But life offstage was chaotic. Jimmy burned money on drugs, alcohol, all-night parties, and studios costing a fortune. Out of cash, he borrowed from friends. When projects stalled and management disputes froze assets, he owed $200,000 to music debts and $100,000 personally, drowning in debt while living at the top. On September 18, 1970, Jimmy died suddenly from a drug overdose. The abrupt death shattered everything. Assets were seized, his apartment foreclosed, his legendary guitars, symbols of an era, sold to pay debts. His family was left with pain and unpaid bills. 4. Wilt Chamberlain. NBA legend's massive fortune collapsed after death. Wilt Chamberlain was the NBA's king, scoring 100 points in a game, an unmatched sports icon. He earned over $15 million from basketball and ads, lived in an LA mansion, drove a Ferrari, and owned a private yacht amid glitzy lights. But fame came with an unchecked life. Wilt spent like tomorrow didn't matter, Real estate, parties, designer goods, yachts, women. When his sports career ended, he dove into investments. Not everyone's a businessman. Failed real estate, deals sank him into debt. The IRS chased $800,000 for underreported taxes, plus $300,000 in bank loans to keep his yacht. On October 12, 1999, Wilt died suddenly of heart failure. His envied fortune crumbled. The mansion was foreclosed, the yacht sold to settle debts. His family moved to a small apartment. An empire vanished overnight, leaving a bitter lesson about money's value. 3. Dinah Washington. Blues queen died tragically in debt. Dinah Washington was a jazz and blues legend, her voice shaking stages with countless hits, earning millions in her prime. But offstage, chaos reigned. Dinah lived like true royalty. Money in, spent without thought, imported furs, diamond jewelry, luxury cars, all-night parties. Her fur collection alone cost $80,000, plus a pricey Chicago home and a gleaming Buick Riviera out front. But fame didn't save her wallet when her career slowed. Gigs thinned, her voice weakened by a reckless lifestyle. She borrowed everywhere to keep her lavish life, owing tour organizers $100,000 and $50,000 personally to survive. On December 14, 1963, Dinah was found dead in her bedroom from an overdose of sedatives and alcohol. The sudden death triggered a collapse. Her house was sold, cars towed, furs, jewelry, auctioned to pay debts. Her family was left with a pitifully small savings. A bitter end for a star who shone brightest in blues. 2. Otis Redding. Soul star died in a plane crash, leaving family in debt. Otis Redding was soul's golden voice, dominating charts with the timeless "Sittin' on the Dock of the Bay," earning millions from sold-out tours and albums. Otis wasn't just stage famous but known for a go-all-in lifestyle. He poured money into lavish tours, bought a $150,000 private plane for travel, and splurged on reckless shopping sprees. Thinking his massive income could cover it, he was wrong. By late 1967, he was deep in debt, $120,000 to music organizers, $80,000 to banks for the plane, over $200,000 unpaid. On December 10th, his private plane crashed into a Wisconsin frozen lake. Otis died instantly. The sudden death left his family scrambling. Their farm was repossessed. The Cadillac sold to scrape funds. All assets were swept away post-crash. His loved ones were left with unpaid bills and endless grief for a star gone too soon. 1. Curtis Mayfield. Soul funk king died paralyzed and in debt, leaving ruins after glory. Curtis Mayfield was the soul and funk heart of America. With Superfly, he sparked a music revolution, built an empire with million-dollar tours and his own label, living a star's lavish life. But it all vanished in a fateful moment. In 1990, during a performance setup, a lighting rig crashed onto Curtis. The catastrophic impact paralyzed him from the neck down. His career ended instantly. Unable to move, he relied on machines, doctors, and daily meds. Savings evaporated on hospital bills. Treatments, billed hourly, piled up to $250,000, plus $100,000 in canceled music contract penalties, crushing his family. When Curtis died on December 26, 1999, his Atlanta home was foreclosed. His proud record company sold off. Assets couldn't sustain his family. The radiant glory of a legend who lit up a generation faded to a dim memory. They climbed fame's peak, lived in dazzling light, spent without counting. Yet in their final days, they died with not a penny left. You've likely seen it. These are proof of a common Hollywood tragedy. You may earn millions, but no one guarantees you'll keep it to the end. It's a costly lesson about the fleeting nature of money and fame so many chase. Whose story tugs at you most? Drop a comment below to share your thoughts. And don't forget to subscribe to catch more untold celebrity stories you've never heard.